1937, Costains have been building airports all over the world. From the simplest military airfield to the most lavish international terminal, Costains have built it. By the early 1970s, they had completed 41 major airport contracts, more than one a year since they entered this branch of civil engineering.
The slow boat to China's as dead as a dodo. The Indian Ocean's much quicker from Heathrow. We built runways there and much more at Dubai. A pearl in the necklace of speed through the sky. The West has the history, the East wants to buy it. The East has the mystery, the rest want to try it. The West and the East and the best want to fly. Say goodbye to Sydney, hello to Brunei.
A modern international air terminal now stands at Brunei in Borneo, where once the ground was covered by dense tropical rainforest and swamp. And men who at the dawn of flight were tribal headhunters learn new pursuits as they clear the ground for yet one more advance of civilization. They are the E-bands, the pioneer corps in an army of workers 500 strong, drawn from the many races of Southeast Asia: Malays, Filipinos, Indians, Chinese. The heavy armor of civil engineering is the main strike force. The first enemy is the terrain. Where the 3,700-meter-long runway is to be laid, a quarter of the area is swamp. Civil engineers are a modest breed of man. One of them here said, "There's nothing difficult about airport construction. All you have to do is to bring your resources to where they're needed from the nearest available point and plan well enough ahead for them to arrive at the right time." Perhaps, but there's no room for error. Even with a contract worth about £7 million, the scale of the resources needed and the complexity of their movements suggests how fine is the line dividing business success from failure in airport construction.
Getting ahead in the 20th century is only a matter of doing things right. Whatever your language, there's no use in praying. You've got to remember the customer's paying. The big cats are moving, they're grinding the gears. The working statistics will shatter your ears. Of tons of mud shifted, of weights that are lifted, of setbacks and hold-ups that drive men to tears. Getting ahead in the 20th century is only a matter of doing things right. You've got to remember the customer's paying. You've got to remember he only pays once. There's no room for luck and there's no room for chance. It's only a matter of doing things right.
The site engineers have a saying for this place. It's a big country. Rainfall here is measured not in millimeters, not in centimeters, but in meters. 3 meters of rain falls here every year. It swells the rivers, feeds the swamps, and everywhere else there's mud, and plenty of it. A hindrance to the labor force. A material of no redeeming value to the civil engineer. He wants concrete, and the sand, cement, and stone to mix it. In this sort of country, you don't just ring up the nearest quarry to place an order. There aren't any quarries. You have to create your own, and that means finding the nearest suitable deposit to the site. In this case, the stone was 60 kilometers away, across open sea, past 2 national boundaries, and upriver. The sand was closer, but still 10 kilometers from the site. A stretch of beach with grains of the right mineral origin. Enough of it lying there for 1/7 of the total requirement. But nature did the rest.
7 times they stripped the beach, 7 times the ocean brought it back again. That is nature's way to teach. There's nothing big about the jet plane. Though we dig and move the earth, change its contours and its profile. Looked at in the universe, it's only us who think it's worthwhile. The big cats are moving, they're grinding their gears. The working statistics would shatter your ears. Of tons of muck shifted, of weights that are lifted, of setbacks and hold-ups that drive men to tears. The big cats are moving, their gears take the strain. Hell-bent on improving a hostile terrain. They're piling up surcharge to pack down the slop marsh. You need good foundations to take the jet plane. A maze of logistics to build a runway, by road and by water, 4 barges a day. 200 tons carried of stone that was quarried, a country, a sea, and a river away. The work looks the same wherever the scene. Whatever your language, they don't need phrasing. It's only a deadline, a schedule they're chasing. Building an airport's a question of progress in jungle or desert or urban metropolis. Getting ahead in the 20th century is only a matter of doing things right. It's only a matter of doing things right.
The Seychelles, a cluster of some 90 islands in the Indian Ocean, decided to catch up on the 20th century in 1968. A tropical paradise of palm-fringed beaches, the islands lacked their obvious main industry, tourism. For years, the islanders had made their living from the export of products like copra, vanilla, and cinnamon. Visitors, such as there were, came by boat. A 3-day voyage from Mombasa, a week's cruise from Bombay or Karachi. In 1968, the government awarded a £4 million contract to Coste to build the island's first air link with the outside world, a 3,000-meter-long runway and terminal buildings. But first, they had to slice the tops off 2 granite hills which stood in the way and reclaim from the sea some 100 hectares of shoreline.
Move the mountain into the sea. Move the mountain into the sea. 'Cause then the big silver plane is gonna fly in, set us all free.
750,000 cubic meters of rock were removed to lower the hills by 40 meters. It provided the barrier wall behind which the land could be reclaimed.
Wall of granite, keep back the sea. Wall of granite, keep back the sea. Then we'll pump the sand in, and then there'll be land where sea used to be.
2.5 million cubic meters of sand and coral were pumped behind the wall by what was one of the biggest cutter suction dredgers in existence at the time.
Move that mountain down to the shore. Move that mountain down to the shore. Pack
The airport took 2.5 years to build. But before the concrete was even laid, the islanders turned out in force to marvel and to celebrate an inaugural landing. A commonplace event for millions throughout the world. For them, it was the first plane ever to land on their soil. In July 1971 would come the first scheduled landing, and jumbo jets would edge the little pipers from their skies. When the wonder was past, it was on with the job, completing the buildings and laying the runway.
Paving trails, paving the way to a prosperous future. Working again, paving the way to the sky. Paving trails, leaving its trail like a snail on the seashore. Working again, paving the way to the sky. Spreading, vibrating, no stopping, no waiting. The runway's the stronger, the longer the run. Paddling and turning and smoothing and earning a rest when the apron and taxiway's done. Paving trails, paving the way to the sky. Paving the way to the sky.
The design and construction of aircraft pavements is narrowly defined by the need to resist the high loadings of modern aircraft undercarriages. Airport buildings are a matter of taste, budget, and ambition. Airports come custom built to fit the landscape and to meet the needs of the client. They vary from the modest and unassuming to the grand and palatial. For His Highness Sheikh Rashid bin Said Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, his airport was to be a jewel set in the desert. The contract to build the £4 million air terminal at Dubai was awarded to Costain in November 1968. The company was responsible for the design and construction of the 3-story terminal building, a 2-story annex, taxiway, apron, and control tower. Every detail from the broader concepts of the overall design to the smallest item of furniture and equipment.
Build me a castle of the sky. Build me a temple of the air.
The Dubai terminal, the first in the world designed to take the new jumbo jets, was scheduled to be completed in 30 months. In fact, the handover took place 3 months earlier than was called for, and the first aircraft to use the terminal did so 9 weeks ahead of schedule. By May 1971, when it was officially opened, the number of passengers passing through Dubai Airport had doubled over the preceding 3 years, and the amount of freight handled had trebled in the same period. This increase in traffic and the prosperity it has brought confirmed the wisdom of Dubai's ruler in pursuing a massive program of modernization in Dubai. Improved roads, communications, housing, hospitals, not to mention the largest deep-water harbor in the Middle East and a dry dock to match. In all this work, Costain have been heavily involved, to a total contract value of £115 million. Just under £3 million of this was spent on rebuilding, extending and modernizing the runway and taxiways at Dubai Airport. The trade and traffic grow. Great cities of the world have long been accustomed to the sights and sounds of major international airports. Sydney, Australia is no exception. But everywhere the growing appetite for flying, the increased size and numbers of aircraft render obsolete those facilities once considered more than adequate. Newer, bigger, grander buildings are the order of the day. So it was that in the late 1960s, the Australian government placed an order of £7 million to build a 3-story terminal building at Kingsford Smith Airport, with berthing space for 12 aircraft. And Costain built it, while at the same time they were constructing concourses and a service building at Tullamarine Airport, Melbourne. Providing a 3-level international concourse 200 metres long, with aircraft bays on each side and a 2-level domestic concourse 260 metres long. Work was completed in April 1970. The same month that Costain completed a major contract on the other side of the world, an 1,100-metre extension to #1 runway at London's Heathrow Airport. Yet again, a contract completed ahead of schedule, by 3 months, despite the interruption to work inevitable at an airport in constant use. That is the Costain way. The way they won 8 contracts at the same time throughout the world, working by day and by night to beat the clock.
Angular profiles fill the evening sky, changing horizons from Scotland to Brunei. At dusk in the east, by dawn in the west, the shape of tomorrow's drawn in silhouettes of Earth movers crawling the twilight terrain without all their effort. What use is a plane? From Brunei to Glasgow, there's no need to go slow. The runway we're making's a record for breaking. They said take 2 years, but we worked through the night. Got finished in 10 months, they said that's all right. From twilight to dawn over Scotland or Borneo, men of all races are earning their wages in darkness or sunshine, in frost, heat or rain. Without all their effort, what use is a plane? some money to lay down an airfield with a jet-sized runway. The money comes back in these days of jet setting. There's plenty for you, but it's no use